The secret history of why we eat this way. Look at the knives in your kitchen. You have some that are razor sharp for carving meat and others that can slice through bone. But the knife you use at the dinner table? It's different. It's blunt, and it has a rounded tip. For thousands of years, humans used sharp, pointed daggers at the dinner table. So, what happened? Why did we suddenly decide that our eating tools should be harmless? The answer isn't safety, it's a story of power, high society etiquette, and one very disgusted French cardinal. To understand how we got here, we have to go back to the Middle Ages. In the medieval world, a knife wasn't just cutlery, it was a personal sidearm. Back then, hosts didn't provide knives for their guests. If you were invited to a feast, you brought your own knife, usually hanging from your belt. These were lethal, pointed daggers. They were used to spear pieces of meat, cut through tough bread, and quite commonly, to pick teeth after the meal. Imagine a room full of armed, often intoxicated men, all eating with weapons. It was a recipe for disaster, and dinner table brawls frequently turned fatal. Everything changed in 17th century France because of a man named Cardinal Richelieu. He was the chief minister to King Louis XIII and arguably the most powerful man in the country. Richelieu was a man of extreme refinement and a lover of fine dining. In 1637, during a lavish dinner party, the cardinal watched in absolute horror as one of his guests used the sharp point of his knife to pick food out of his teeth. To the sophisticated cardinal, this wasn't just unhygienic, it was barbaric. The very next day, Richelieu took action. He ordered his house staff to take every single knife in his kitchen and grind down the sharp points until they were rounded. He wanted to ensure that no guest at his table would ever commit such a gross act of poor manners again. This wasn't just a change in cutlery, it was the birth of a new standard for civilized behavior. But a cardinal's house rules don't change the entire world. For that, you need a king. Several decades later, in 1669, King Louis XIV, the famous Sun King, officially banned pointed knives at the dinner table throughout all of France. The king had a dual motive. First, he wanted to follow the high fashion of etiquette set by people like Richelieu. Second, he wanted to reduce violence. By making dinner knives blunt, he made it much harder for a heated argument during a royal banquet to end in a stabbing. From the golden courts of Versailles, this trend spread like wildfire. If it was good enough for the King of France, it was good enough for the rest of European high society. Soon, rounded knives became a symbol of status and manners. By the time the Industrial Revolution began, the blunt-tipped table knife was the global standard. Today, we don't even think about it. We butter our toast and cut our food with rounded blades without realizing we are following a 400-year-old decree. We use these knives because a powerful priest in the 1600s was grossed out by a dinner guest's hygiene. It's a perfect example of how the smallest irritations of the past shape the world we live in today. Next time you sit down for a meal, take a look at your knife. You aren't just looking at a tool, you're looking at a piece of history that survived through kings, revolutions, and centuries of changing fashions. This is the hidden story behind the simplest things on your table. This is why. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more hidden histories.